President, please be seated.
អង្គជំនុំជម្រះប្រកាស
The chamber is back in session. And I give the floor to the international co-prosecutor to continue putting questions to the witness.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Witness. Just a few questions for you. Did you see in the East Zone, when you were working for Sao Pim, did you see any advisors or personnel from China?
No, I never saw them.
Did you see a visitor from China?
When I was there, I never saw foreign visitors.
Okay, I may come back to that a bit later. During the time, those years, you talked about the arrests of East Zone cadre. Did any of your own family get arrested?
There were none of my relatives who were arrested because none of my relatives worked.
What about Sao Pim's relatives? Did you see any of them arrested or hear of them being arrested?
All of Sao Pim's relatives were arrested and all of them died.
You mentioned not he was the youngest son of Sao Pim, is that correct?
Yes, his youngest son. I met him while he was still young.
About how old was he in 1978? Do you know?
Based on my estimation, he aged between 4 and 10 years old.
Was there a Nat, a son of Sao Pim, on the hospital committee?
No. His youngest son was still learning in the school at the farm along with other kids.
Perhaps you can help us because there's a document that was recovered from S21, and I'm actually referring now to what's on the OCIJ list, Your Honors, E3/10604. On that list, number 11676, Mr. Witness, is someone named Hang Nor, alias Nat, who's identified as a member of the East Zone Hospital Committee and the son of Pim, who entered S21 on 10 July 1978. Did you know this Pang Nor, who was on the hospital committee in the East Zone?
ខ្ញុំមិនបាទខ្ញុំមិនបានស្គាល់ពីតកូលពីអីទេប៉ុន្តែ
I did not know about the family name of the person, but I met Nat, who was the chief of the hospitals in the East Zone. He escaped and was also jailed with me in Svay Rieng. I met that person. He was imprisoned with me. And when the prison was attacked and we got separated from each other.
When you talk about your being in prison, how long was that after your trip with Sao Pim to Phnom Penh? Can you tell us how many weeks or months later it was that you were imprisoned?
After I had returned from my fleeing, I was imprisoned when I arrived at my homeland, but I cannot recall how many months I remained in the prison.
So when you first went to the prison, would that have been the same month or within the same month of the time that you went to Phnom Penh with Sao Pim? Would it have been some days after your escape from Kasai Sat, or was it weeks, or was it months?
It was a long time. Although I cannot recall it clearly, but based on my estimation, after I had fled from the incident in Phnom Penh, I spent around 10 days in Suong, and then I continued my journey to my homeland. It took altogether about 1 month.
Thank you. And then you were imprisoned for some months after that, is that correct?
I was in the prison for about 1 month or more than 1 month. And then the Vietnamese soldiers attacked the area, and as a result, I was freed.
Where exactly was the prison that you were held at?
It was at a pagoda called Kadai Rumdul Pagoda near the river to the north of Svay Rieng provincial town.
How many people were held at that prison with you?
I could not count the numbers, but to my estimation, there were more than 200 prisoners.
When you were arrested, did you hide your identity in some way? Did you tell them you were a bodyguard for Sao Pim?
At that time, I concealed my identity. I said that I was a worker from the plantation. However, I thought that if I had remained in the prison for a longer period, my life would not be spared.
Did you see or learn of any of the prisoners there being killed?
At that time, I did not know. President, please hold on, Mr. Witness, and the floor is given to Counsel Ong Takuse.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm speaking at this stage in order to object. The first questions are related to the experience of the witness, but here the co-prosecutor will be asking questions about a pagoda prison, which is not in the scope of the trial. Therefore, I object that questions be asked in this area.
Your Honor, we're on the, this witness is being called for the trial segment of purges. I'm talking about purges of the East Zone. I'm about to ask him about the kinds of persons that were at that prison and what happened to them. It's a witness called at the request of the defense. I think it's directly relevant to purges. My questions.
It doesn't seem to me that the witness was called to talk about the purges, which are not part of the segment that we have due to the severance order. And the team of Nuanchea wanted to talk about that issue and armed conflict and the problem of internal problems that there might have been with the East Zone, and the decision was made to put this witness on the list related to that. So the decision that we can talk about purges which are not part of the severance order is a distortion of what evidence in the chamber should be. So I continue to object, and I insist that this is not among the elements of evidence that were foreseen in the severance order. So it's up to the chamber.
President, since it is related to the purge in the East Zone, which is the fact in case 002/02, therefore the question is allowed to be asked because it is relevant to the elements of the purge. Therefore, the objection by the defense counsel for Khieu Samphan is overruled. Mr. Witness, please answer the question if you can still recall it. Witness, could you please repeat your question?
Certainly. My question was if you saw any people in that prison killed or people that you believe were killed because they disappeared.
At that time, I did not witness it. That night, the prison was bombarded with artillery shells, and in the morning, I saw people had already escaped. No one died as a result of the bombardment.
The people that were in the prison with you, were they people who were at least claiming, like you were, to be ordinary workers? Or were these obviously East Zone Division soldiers, division or district or sector soldiers.
All those who were jailed with me came from different backgrounds. They came from ministries, from sectors, and from other zones. Those who came back to their respective homeland were rounded up, arrested, and jailed there.
When you were not in the prison, either before or after you were in the prison, did you see any killings of East Zone soldiers or cadre by soldiers from the center or central zone or southwest zone?
Before I was jailed, although there were cases of killing, they never allowed us to see those killing. We only knew about disappearance of people, but I never witnessed the killing with my own eyes.
I believe you said that in the defense office there was a total of 60 people. You said including the support staff. Do you know how many approximately of them survived 1978, survived these incidents?
Among the 60 individuals, whom I met since they were young, 5 or 6 of them survived. Some of them escaped to Vietnam, while others escaped to somewhere. I met them since we were quite young, and now we are getting older and older. There are a few of them who are survived, and all of them are old.
Did you ever come across killing fields, locations where bodies of East Zone soldiers or cadre were disposed of after killing?
No, I never saw those places. I never went across the killing fields.
What happened, if you know, to Sao Pim's wife, Ye Karu?
I was not aware of what happened to Sao Pim's wife because she was at a different place from mine.
Before Sao Pim's trip to Phnom Penh and suicide, the times before that, did you ever see people arrested and taken to Phnom Penh?
Before that, I did not see the arrest taking place. And because I did not see the arrest with my own eyes, I am not in a position to comment on that.
Did you ever see security from the center coming to the East Zone to pick people up?
President, When you say center, can you specify it, whether from the central zone or from where? Because it's not clear in Khmer language.
Thank you. Did you see people coming from Phnom Penh to transport persons back to Phnom Penh? Arrestees back to Phnom Penh?
Witness, no, I never saw it with my own eyes. Only if they had come to arrest people at my exact location, I would be aware of this. But for other places, it's beyond my knowledge, because during the regime, I had no rights to go freely. I could go somewhere only when there was authority or permission.
Did you ever see any Vietnamese who had been captured and being held by Khmer forces, whether it was East Zone or any other forces? Did you see any Vietnamese soldiers or civilians captured?
No, I never saw it. I never saw it. That's all for my answer.
Did you ever, by chance, see a video of Vietnamese arrestees confessing?
No, I did not see it, because during the regime there was no video, even radios there were none.
I want to ask you a little bit more about the visits of Nunchia to the East Zone. Is it correct you told us he slept in the defense office in Song? Is that right?
I do not understand your question. I don't know how to answer your question. You said that whether his visit is correct or not. I don't know how to answer this question, President. The question intended to ask you about the time when Nuon Chea visited the East Zone, whether he stayed at the defense unit or office. Witness. Yes, he went there and stayed there.
So do I understand correctly then Nuon Chea was sleeping with the bodyguard unit of Sao Pim, right in his offices of his own security, Sao Pim security. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did Nuon Chea give any speeches that you recall?
No, I never saw him delivering speeches.
Mr. Witness, there's a point of your interview last year